Okay, so just as a reminder, we are continuing to factor. I'm going to go back to my chart so you guys can see where we have come from and where we're going. Remember, this is the chart I gave you guys on that orange sheet of paper. If you want, you can have it in front of you. Step number one always is to take out a greatest common factor. So that is a step you do regardless of what type of question you have. You always take out a greatest common factor first. My computer is super slow, so it's coming soon. The internet is not working very well. Then in that last week when why did the recording stop? Where's your recording? So last week when we learned how to do a greatest common factor, we learned how to factor something with 4 terms. So I don't know if you remember, but we grouped them together. We grouped 2 and 2 together. We factor them and then we put everything together. So that is called factoring by grouping. We're now concentrating on 3-term factoring. Last Thursday or Friday, we learned how to factor simple trinomials, which you guys just practiced with your coloring activity. And now we're going to move on to complex trinomials. So that's all we're going to do today. We're just going to focus on this box right here. And then in tomorrow's class, we'll do perfect squares and difference of squares. So we're taking it super slow, just focusing on one thing at a time. Question? All of that is going to be on the assessment on Friday. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, what is the difference between simple trinomials and complex trinomials? When you take a look at this page, what can you tell me is the difference between the questions we did before and the questions we're doing now? Angelique? Exactly. The number in the very first term is not a 1. It is something other than 1. So that's what makes it a little bit more complex. The first thing we're going to do for every question is we're going to see if we can take out a greatest common factor. So in this question, is there anything that is common between every single one of these terms? X is here and here, but it's on the last one, so no. It's just going to be a 1, yeah. And you don't, if the greatest common factor is a 1, you don't do anything. You don't need to take it out. All right, so there is no greatest common factor here. We're going to go ahead and just start factoring. Now, the method that I teach is called guess and check. It's very sophisticated, but we're guessing and checking. There are probably, I would say, 15 different ways that you can factor. If you went on YouTube, you would find the Australian method, you would find the box method, you would find decomposition, you would find the crisscross method. There are so many out there. I'm going to show you the one that I think is the most efficient. If you hate it, that's fine. You can go on YouTube and find a method that works for you. I really don't care how you get the answer. I just want you to know how to factor. I will say though, if you're using certain methods like decomposition and stuff, it does take a little bit longer. So just make sure you increase your speed so that you don't run out of time and stuff like that. All right, so let's learn the guess and check method. Here is how it works. Okay, so just like before, I am going to be looking at my very first term, and I'm going to think of all of the factors that are factors of the number 3. What are all the factors of the number 3? Yeah, the only one that works is going to be a 1 and a 3. I am going to do the same thing with the last number, and I'm going to think of all of the factors of 2. What are all the factors of 2? Yeah, so in this case, it's just going to be a 1 and a 2. Okay, so you look at the first term, you list all the factors. You look at the last term, you list all the factors. Now, here's what you're going to do. In this question, there's only one possibility. We have to use the 1 and the 3. We have to use the 1 and the 2. So this term, because it's the first one, it's going to tell me the numbers that go in the front of the bracket. So I'm going to put a 1 and a 3. And it doesn't matter what order you put them in. You could put 1x here and 3x here, or the other way around. I'm going to put it like this, 3x and 1x. You don't have to put the 1. I just put the x. So let's confirm. Does 3x times x equal 3x squared? The answer is yes. Okay, so that's perfect. Everything works out. Now, I know my second numbers have to be 1 and 2, but what order do I put them in? Is it going to be a 1 and a 2, or is it going to be a 2 and a 1? I don't know. And that's why this method is called guessing and checking. So I'm going to first, and I know you're probably like, oh, that's inefficient. That's going to take so long. But the real answer is it's not going to take you long. It may take you long in the beginning while you're getting used to it, But once you get really good at it, it's so fast and you don't even have to really think. You can just do it right away. So I'm going to start off by guessing 2 and 1 because I already have them there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called the double smiley method. So I'm going to make a smiley face to connect the 2 and the x. I'm going to multiply those and I'm going to get 2x. And then I'm going to make another smiley face to connect the 3x and the 1. And I'm going to multiply those and I'm going to get 3x. Okay, some people call this the rainbow method, the smiley face method. The name doesn't matter. All that matters is once you've guessed where your numbers are going, you're going to make a smiley face between these two and multiply them. You're going to make a smiley face between these two and multiply them. Remember, this is complex trinomials, so we have to have a few more steps to solve it. Safir? Kind of, yeah. Kind of, yeah. Samir? So I'm trying to figure out if the right order is 2 and 1 or if I should switch them around and make them 1 and 2. I've multiplied the numbers and here is the thought process. Okay, here's what you're going to be thinking. You're asking yourself, can I add these numbers in my double smiley to give me a negative 5x? So can I add 3 and 2 to get negative 5? Or add or subtract, I should say? Yeah, I can. I can make this 2x minus 2x. And I can make this 3x a minus 3x. Because negative 2x minus 3x is negative 5x. Now, this might not be the right answer. We're just guessing and checking. We may have it completely wrong. Let's keep going. How do I make 2 times x into negative 2x? What sign do I put in front of the 2 here? Yeah. Because negative 2 times x will give me negative 2x. And then how do I make 3x times 1 negative 3x? Minus. Okay, you're not going to like this because now you're going to look at it and you're going to say, well, is this the right answer? Go ahead and FOIL it and see if it is the right answer. So expand these 2 brackets and see what you get when you expand them. Yep. When you expanded it, were you able to get back to the original question? You get positive 2. So that means we have done it incorrectly. We need to do the other order. So I'm going to erase the negative 2x. I'm going to erase the negative 3x. I'm going to erase this minus 2. I'm going to erase this minus 1. And instead of a 2 and a 1, I'm now going to put a 1 and a 2. And with factoring with guess and check, it's totally normal to erase, try another set of numbers, and to do that a couple of times before you get to your final answer. I purposely started with an example where things could go wrong, just so you can see how it looks and try to do it the other questions. Okay, so now I'm going to try a 1 over here and a 2 over here, and I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to do the double smiley method. What is 1 times x? 1x. What is 3x times 2? 6x. Can I add and subtract 6x and 1 to give me negative 5x? What can I do? Negative 6x plus 1x. How does that work? Well, negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Okay, how can I make these 2 numbers positive 1x? What can I put in front of the 1? A plus sign, yeah. And how can I make 3x times 2 negative 6x? What can I put in front of the 2? Minus. Okay, go ahead and expand this and see if it works. steps again. So let's take a look at question number 2. Again, we have 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. This is a complex trinomial. Is there a greatest common factor in this question? Is there anything that we can factor out that's common between every single term? No. So we can't really factor anything out. We're just going to go ahead and start factoring it. I'm going to make 2 sets of brackets. And I'm going to look at the first term and I'm going to look at the last term. What are the only 2 numbers that multiply to give me 2? Yeah, so it's just going to be 1 and 2. That's great. I like that there aren't a lot of options. It has to be a 1 and a 2. What are all of the factors of 12? Yeah. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So here's where we run into a little bit of an issue. And I'm going to show you what I do to make the question a little bit easier. So first of all, if our only options are 1 and 2, what numbers have to go in the front of my brackets? 1x and 2x. It doesn't matter what order you put them in. I always like to put the 1x for some reason in the second bracket, but honestly, it really doesn't matter. All I know is 2x times x will multiply to give me the first number, which is 2x squared. Okay, now we have a lot of options here. If we were to guess and check all of these, we would be here for a very long time. So what is my little trick to help you with this question? I always start by guessing the pair of numbers that are closest together. My highlighter's not working. Oh, it's not working. That's better. All right, so which one of these pairs of numbers is closest together? Like has the smallest difference between it? Angelique? 3 and 4. So I'm actually going to start by saying my most educated guess is going to be a 3 and a 4. It may work, it may not work. And if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. So that's my first bit of advice. When you have a bunch of different factors, pick the numbers that are closest together. My second bit of advice is when you're guessing and checking, which order can I put the 3 and the 4 in? If you try to put the 4 and the 3 like this, the second rule is you can never have common factors in the same bracket. So see how 2 and 4 are a common factor? You're not allowed to have that. That's a red flag. So right away, I know that my order cannot be 4 and 3. It has to be 3 and 4. Because 2 and 3 are not common factors. 2 and 4 were common factors. They're both multiples, and so we could not put them in the same bracket. So we've kind of eliminated a lot of different options. I'm going to say the numbers are probably 3 and 4. It works like 98% of the time. And then the order they have to be put in are 3 here and 4 here, because if we put a 4 here, it doesn't work. It ends up being a common factor, which you're not allowed to have in a bracket. It's a red flag. Okay, let's go ahead and use our double face smiley method. So if you were confused the first time, just take a look up here again. I'll explain it one more time. I have put in all of my numbers that I have guessed to be true. I am going to make a smiley face between these 2 innermost numbers, and I'm going to multiply them together. So what's 3 times x? 3x. So I'm just going to write that there. Now I'm going to make another smiley face between the first number and the last number. And I'm going to multiply those together. So what's 2x times 4? 8x. And then I'm going to ask myself, can I add or subtract 3x and 8x to get this middle number? Can I add or subtract those to get the middle number? Positive 3x plus 8x is going to give me an 11x. So it seems like things are working, but we'll never know until the very end. How can I make 3 times x positive 3x? What sign can I put in front of the 3? plus. And the general rule is when you're trying to figure out the sign, for the first double smiley, whatever sign you have here is what you're going to put over here. And then 2x times 4, how can I make that a positive 8x? I can put a plus sign here. And the rule is for the second smiley, whatever sign you have here is what you're going to be putting over here. Okay, so we think we have an answer, 2x plus 3, x plus 4. Go ahead and FOIL it and see if you get back to the original question. While you're fast. If I am going too fast, let me know. Let's try question number 3. So this is a complex trinomial. Is there a common factor for any of these terms? 6, 13, 5? There's nothing common, so we can't do anything. We have to go ahead and start factoring it right away. So just like before, I'm going to look at the first number and the last number. What are the factors of 6? Yeah. So we have 1 times 6, 3 times 2, or 2 times 3. What are the factors of 5? Yeah, I love when it's a prime number because there's only one option here. It has to be 1 and 5. So it really reduces how many numbers we're going to be trying. Okay, remember my first advice that I gave you. When you have multiple factors, which numbers do we want to start by guessing? Which numbers do you think it will probably be? Krishna? Yeah, and then the ones that are closest together, in this case, it's going to be a 3 and a 2. It may work, it may not work, but this is our most educated guess. So we're going to put a 3m and a 2m here. Does it matter what order the first number is going? It doesn't. If you wanted to put a 2m and a 3m here, you could have. For some reason, I always like to put the bigger number first and then the second number. It just makes a little bit more sense to me. Okay, now we have a 1 and a 5. We can either put the 1 here and the 5 here, or we could put the 5 here and the 1 here. This is where it's like a guess and a check. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 5 here and the 1 here. Some of you that have already done it know the answer, so don't reveal it. But let's go ahead and try this combination and see if it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a smiley face here. 5 times 2m is 10m. I'll do a smiley face over here. 3m times 1 is 3m. Can I add or subtract 10m and 3m to get positive 13? 10 and 3 to get 13? I could add both of them together. So what sign am I going to put in front of the 5? Yep, because positive 5 times 2m is positive 10m. What sign am I going to put in front of the 1? Plus, because 3m times positive 1 is 3m. Go ahead and FOIL this and see if it works. Nirmatha? So you guys, when you checked it, did it end up working? No, because what did you get for the last term? A positive 5, right? Okay, so we've done something wrong. I'm going to go ahead and erase all this hard work, and we're going to switch the numbers around. So now we had put, what did I put over here at first? Okay, so I'm going to put a 1 here, and I'm going to put a 5 here. 1 times 2m is 2m. 3m times 5 is 15m. And by the way, I had purposely misled us or led us down the wrong path because I just wanted to show you that for questions like this, it's totally fine to erase a few times and try different numbers. That's why it's called guess and check. So you may not get the answer right away. Can I add or subtract 15 and 2 to get positive 13? Yeah, what can I make? What can I do? Negative 2. Okay, so if this is negative 2m, what sign do I have to put in front of the 1? Minus, right? Negative 1 times 2m is going to give me negative 2m. If this is a positive 15, what sign do I have to put in front of the 5? Plus. And I'm going to save you the work. When you do expand this, this ends up working out perfectly. So it is the right answer. I'm going to let you try question for yourself. But I want you to just pay attention to the helpful hint I gave you. There is a greatest common factor in this question. So the first thing you're going to do is remove that greatest common factor and then see what you get when you try it. All right, so I think we've established the greatest common factor is a 2. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out a 2. You guys, this is a reminder of what we did for that very first lesson. If I factor out a 2, what is my first term going to be? 5x squared. How about my second term? Minus 11x. And then what about my last term? Plus 2. You're basically saying 2 times what number here will give you 10x squared? 2 times what number here will give you negative 22x? 2 times what number at the end will give you positive 4? Now, once you have factored out the 2, you don't need to worry about it anymore. You just keep it in the front of your equation. But when we're actually factoring, we're only going to be looking at what is inside of the bracket. So we're now factoring 5x squared minus 11x plus 2. We don't need to worry about the 2. The 2 is just outside. It hangs out there for the rest of the question. All right, so how are we going to factor this? Let's think about it. Our first number is a 5 and our second number is a 2. Both of those are prime numbers. So what are the only 2 numbers that multiply to give me 5? Good, so I'm going to put a 5x here and I'm going to put a 1x here. What are the only 2 numbers that multiply to give me a 2? 1 and 2. Now here's where you're going to guess. You can either put it as 1 and 2, or you can put it as 2 and 1. Which one do you guys want to try? Do you want to put the 2 here or the 1 here? You want to try 2 here and a 1 here? Okay, let's try it this way. So I'm going to make my smiley face. 2 times x is 2x. I'm going to make my other smiley face. 5x times 1 is 5x. Can I add or subtract 5 and 2 to get me 11? No, it's never going to work. So that was the wrong order, which means I know it has to be a 1 and a 2. Let's try it with a 1 and a 2. 1 times x is 1x. 5x times 2 is 10x. And I'm just going to put the 1 here so we know it's a 1x. Can I add or subtract a 1x and a 10x to give me negative 11x? I can. What can I make both of these signs? Negative and negative. So what do I have to put in front of the 1? Negative, because negative 1 times x will give me negative 1x. What do I have to put in front of the 2? Negative 2, because 5x times negative 2 is going to give me negative 10x. And now if you were checking your work for this, you would FOIL this to see if you get here. And we know 2 times all of these would give you this. But I'll save us the trouble. I'll tell you that the answer does work. This is correct. Okay. 2 more questions. Go ahead and try number 1 yourselves. I'll give you 3 minutes and then we'll take them up. All right, so like I told you guys, if all the y's are confusing in this question, you can actually just think of this question as 4x squared minus 5x minus 6. We can worry about the y's later. That's not going to be our concern right now. In this question, is there a greatest common factor? Is there something that's common between all the terms? The answer is no. It's just a 1, which doesn't really count. So I can't factor out anything. I'm going to go ahead and just start factoring. Okay, so let's look at what we're working with here. We have the number 4 and we have the number 6. What are all of the factors of 4? 1 and 4, 2 and 2. What are all the factors of 6? 2 and 3. Okay, so I told you guys that we always start by picking the closest pair of numbers. So I'm going to pick 2 and 2, and I'm going to pick 2 and 3. And that looks super weird because that color just does not go well with what we're trying to do here. So we're going to pick 2 and 2 and 2 and 3. All right, so I'm going to put in a 2x here and a 2x here, which works really nicely because 2x times 2x is equal to 4x squared. And then I'm going to try to put in a 2 and a 3. If I put the 2 and the 3 like this, does that work or is there a big red flag? Yeah, it's a common factor, so I can't do that. How about if I changed up the order and I put the 3 over here and the 2 over here? Does this work or is there a red flag? There's a red flag because these are common factors. Okay, so clearly everything is wrong. We need to consider something else. What's another option we can now take? Oh, Francine, do you mind getting that? Thank you so much. Yeah, if 2 and 2 didn't work, we're going to move on to the next number, next set of numbers, which is going to be 1 and 4. So let's go ahead and try 4x times 1x, which multiply to give you 4x squared. And I'm still going to try 2 and 3. I have a feeling 2 and 3 still might work. Can I put 2 and 3 like this? No, what's the red flag? The 4 and the 2 are common factors. It's not going to work. So I really like how we're eliminating choices without even doing any work. I think it has to be like this. It has to be a 3 and a 2. I'm going to do a double smiley. 3 times x is 3x. Smiley face here. That's going to give me 8x. Can I add and subtract 8 and 3 to give me -5? I can. What am I going to, what signs am I going to put? Positive 3 and -8, right? Positive 3 minus 8 is -5. Great. What sign am I going to put in front of the positive 3? What sign am I going to put in front of the 2? Minus. And now, even though I changed the question, I can't actually change the question. I have to consider that the question also has y's. What do I do with the y's? What did we do last time, Amina? Exactly. All you need to do is you need to add the y's at the end, and then the middle term itself is going to become xy, and everything will work itself out. So with these questions with 2 variables, I always ignore the other variable. Once I get my answer, I just add them to the end and everything ends up working out really nicely. All right, last question before our break. Go ahead and try question number 2. All right, so you guys, what number did you factor out for each of these terms? Hold on. How many of you have actually done this question and gotten it right? Yeah. 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 They've already recorded it, and so we're just going to play the video. Yeah. All right, so you guys, for question number 2, I gave you the hint that we're going to take out a greatest common factor of 2. So we're going to be left with 3a squared, because 2 times 3a squared is 6a squared. What will the next term be? Plus 7ab. And then what will the last term be? Minus 6b squared. And just like before, if it's confusing with 2 variables, we can kind of pretend like they don't exist for now. We'll add them in later. But this question is basically 3a squared plus 7a minus 6. Okay, so we are going to keep practicing what we have been doing. Let's look at the first number. What are the only 2 factors of 3 that we know? Good. So I'm going to put a 3a here and I'm going to put a 1a here. Those numbers have to be correct because there's no other option. Now we take a look at the number 6. I know it can be 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. What are the numbers closest together that we're going to try? 2 and 3. Can I write the option like this, 3 and 2? Or is there a red flag? Red flag because you can't have a common factor, and 3 and 3 are common factors. So I know the only possibility for me is a 2 here and a 3 here. So it's nice when you can eliminate options like that because it makes the question a little bit easier. Okay, double smiley. So I'm going to try that. 2 times a is 2a. 3a times 3 is 9a. Can I add or subtract 2 and 9 to give me positive 7? I can make it positive 9 minus 2. Samira, a question? Wait, why do you put like 3 and 2 instead of 2 and 3? I can't put a 3 here because then you have a 3 and a 3 and they're common factors and you can't have common factors.
Oh, I mean like, oh wait, never mind. I did it right. I just like put 8 for 3.
Oh, you put the A over here. Okay, got it, got it. Okay, so then we can double check this. 3A times A is 3A squared. Positive 9 minus 2 is positive 7. Negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. But we changed the question. We obviously are not allowed to change a question. I'm going to bring all the B's back. And so what do I need to add to my second term in the bracket? Yeah, I just need to add a B here and a B here. And then this middle term will automatically just become AB, AB, and everything works itself out, and that'll be your final answer. After 5 examples, does this make a little bit more sense? You definitely need a ton of practice. You can't get this without practicing at least like 40 questions. But if you were confused for the first question, are you kind of starting to understand the rules at least a little bit? Somewhat? Shweta? That would be correct. Yeah. All right, last question. This is a challenge question. We did something similar when we did simple trinomials. Do you guys remember what we did for a question like this, where you have like these weird brackets, Jennifer? Yeah, I just said let x equal to this weird binomial, which is a minus b. So I'm going to do the same thing in this question. I am going to substitute my letter x for this binomial. And when I do this, what do I end up getting? I end up getting 6x squared plus x minus 2. So wherever I had the a minus b, I replace it with an x. And this is a really nice, complex trinomial. Go ahead and solve it, and then we'll take this one up. On a time. Okay, Samira, so there is no greatest common factor in this, which means we're just going to start factoring it. The factors of 6, what did you put for the first 2 numbers?
I put 3 and 1.
Sure, so 3x and 1x. And the only factors of 2 are?
And then I did 2 and 1.
So you did it like this, 2 and 1, yep.
So then I did that because, wait, hold on.
Yep.
I didn't do that. I did 3x and then 2 and then 2x and then 1.
So did you have it in this order, like 3x and 2 and x and 1?
Yeah, I did, but it's not like I didn't put x over there, I put 2x over 1.
So 3x times x will not give us 6x squared. Do you think maybe you put a 2x over here?
Okay, there. Go on. I fixed it.
Okay.
I don't know why I wrote 2, but let's fix that. Yeah. So then I did like 3x.
So hold on. Let me go back now. What did you put 3x times 2x for the first 2 numbers?
Yeah.
And then you put a 2 and a 1.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So then 2 times 2x is 4x. 3x times 1 is 3x.
Wait.
Yep. And then to get positive 1x, what you can do is you can do positive 4 minus 3. So you could do plus and minus. Is that what you got? 3x plus 2 and 2x minus 1?
Yeah.
Is that, did you guys get this as your answer? Okay, we're not done because what do we need to do still? We have to bring back our a minus b. So now wherever I have a 3, I'm going to bring back a minus b. And then I'm basically just going to distribute to get my final answer. So this is going to end up being 3a minus 3b plus 2. And this is going to be 2a minus 2b minus 1. Okay, so for that last step, wherever I had my x, I brought back the a minus b, and then I just distribute the 2. So it gave me this. And here I distributed the 3. So it gave me that. Stop the recording and I'll tell you your homework.